Hi guys, so today we're exploring different ways of making bows. Because you know me, I can't just make one version of it and be done. I like my variants. So if you want to make the perfect bow but don't want to sew, I've got you. If you want to make an original bow that's different from what you usually see, I'm pretty sure I can make it happen. And if you want to make the quickest, easiest bow ever, this is also the video for you. We're really diving into bowland, and you will not believe how fun this actually is. You know, this may just be the simplest, funnest video I've ever made. So let's just get started so I can show you. Okay guys, let's start with the no-sew option, okay? We will need a 12 by 6.5 inch rectangle, a 12 by 3.5 inch rectangle, a little smaller, and a 6 by 1.5 inch rectangle. Well, it's a strip, really. Now, I'm using all the same fabric, but you may not want to. You know, you can use different fabrics if you like. Just try and make sure they all go together well. For our first step, let me just get my wool mat. Oh, this is so awesome, guys. You were totally right. Thank you for advising me to get this. I absolutely loved it. Now, first step, we will need to fold. Let's see where our middle is. So first we mark our middle, which is here. And now we need to fold both ends by ironing them, and then we just iron them in place. Just press one side and the other side, and you just press it in place. So let's do the exact same thing with this one. Guys, I can't believe how easy this is with a wool mat. I really can't. You guys told me about it, but you know, I just didn't see it until I tried it. So these are our two bigger pieces. Now for this tinier piece, we will do the exact same thing. So we fold it in half. We press one side, and then we press the other side. Just like that, and then we go ahead and fold it in two. Just like we did with the other two, except now we fold it in two. Okay, so now we are pretty much ready to assemble. Let's just go ahead and place both rectangles together, just like this. And now we are going to turn this around, and we are just going to fold them in half to find the middle of it. Okay? So this is our middle. You can draw a line if you want to. I'm not going to. So this is the side that's fold free, okay? The flat side. Now we bring the outside edges in, and you will want to overlap a little bit. So I'm going over. So the middle line is here, and I'm just slightly going over it. And I am doing the exact same thing with my other side. Just like that, okay? And now we are just going to pin them in place, just to make sure they don't move. Okay, so now we'll be making the center folds of our bow. You know, we'd usually use a needle and thread to it. We will be doing it today, but we did say no sewing, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to fold it real carefully by hand, just like so, until we have a nice little fold in the middle. Okay, we just folded it a couple of times, and now we will need a thread. Let me just get, actually these are two threads, but that's okay. So I just got, you know, some thread from my sewing machine, and I'm just going to roll it around these folds I've just made, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, just like that, and pull a lot. We want this as tight as possible, and then we are just going to do this like this, and there we have it. just going to put, you can put as many knots as you want. I am happy with this. Now, if you're afraid that the folds aren't, you know, tucked in enough and they'll just get loose, I don't think mine will, but if you're afraid of that, you could add a little, you know, a dot of hot glue before you fold them in, and, you know, that will pretty much do the trick. So this is our bow butterfly, essentially. See, it looks like a little butterfly. Now, we can use bows for all sorts of things, you know, from presents to clothing, from home decor or hair accessories, and that's actually what we're doing. So you can add like a clip or a pin or an elastic, like the one I am going to add. And now it's time to add our final piece, you know, to cover the thread and to hold on our elastic or whatever it is we place here. Now, we can add this with a hot glue gun, which is what I'm doing. You can sew it into place, but this is a no-sew. Heck, you can staple it if that's what you want. It is not a problem as long as it stays in place. That is all we need. Here is my elastic. Here is my glue. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. And I'm just going to put the fabric over it. Leave it a few seconds, you know, to hang, to really let it dry. And I'm going to cut the excess, just like so. And now I will do the exact same thing, just pull it, okay? Make sure it's nice and tight. And I am adding another little bit of glue over here. The glue gun is a wonderful accessory, guys. I am in love with my glue gun, gotta say. Really love it. And then cut up the excess. And now we add a little bit more glue just to keep this nice and closed. And we tuck it in, not with our finger because this is warm and it may get off, but like with like a needle or our seam ripper, something like that, or a pen or a pencil. And now, still not dry enough. And now that it's dry enough and our elastic isn't going anywhere, this is done. We just tuck it. We want it nice and full, so we just do that on one side, do that on the other side, and here we have it. Our no-sew bow is complete and quick as easy as promised. Okay guys, time to try another kind of bow, and this is the simplest one, I guess. So for this one we will need a 5 by 9 inch rectangle, and of course you can make it any size you like, okay? For all of these actually, you can make them any size. But I just wanted to show you how to make, you know, tinier bows, because it may seem harder to do because they're tinier, but it's actually not. So 5 by 9 inch rectangle and a 1 by 3 inch strip. We just take our larger rectangle, fold it in half, right sides together, okay? And now we're just going to sew the longer edge using our 1/4 inch foot. Okay, so now we just turn them inside out real quick. And you can use a tool to do this if you prefer, or like a clip. Or like one of those security pins, you just put it on one side and move it all the way across the other, but I just use my fingers really. We are going to press them with the seam in the middle, just like that. Okay, so next we just need to know where our center is, so it's right there. We are going to fold our edges to the middle, you know, always overlapping them a little bit. And now we're just going to make the folds in the center of our bow by using a needle and a thread. So what we do is we just make a couple of stitches, 2 or 3 stitches to catch both fabrics. Well, the 3 fabrics actually, the 2 edges and the center of it. You know, nothing to it, just like this. And now we are going to pull the needle and make sure that our knot at the end will keep the folds in place. So we push, just make it real tight, and then we go around, and then we just do a little knot. So this is how you make the folds with the needle and the thread. It's quite easy, as you can see. It's not really sewing. Well, it's sewing because it's a couple of stitches, but it doesn't require a lot of skill, a lot of sewing by hand skill, right? Now it's time to get our small strip and press those edges in just like we've done before. So first we press it in half, and then we press those tiny little edges in. Be careful not to burn yourself, okay? Go slow and steady if you must. So really, really careful. You don't want to get burned. And you do the same with the other side. Just like so. And then we fold it in half again, and we get a really, really tiny strip, just like so. Okay, so now what we need to do is, like we done before, to close this tiny little strip around the middle of our bow. Look how cute this looks already, guys. So cute. Okay, we have glued it before, but now we are sewing it by hand or using the machine. It's quick either way, okay? I am using the machine. So let me show you how that looks. 1/4 inch foot is not the best. Is not the best for doing this, but that's okay. So we just go over a couple of times. I go back, I go over, I go back, I go over, and this is it, nice and sewn. And this is a tiny, tiny little bow. You can make them tinier or bigger, as I've said. Of course, you decide which size you want, but if I went tinier, you may not see them. There we have it, guys. Now, I use this particular bow for presents. I think they look so cute, you know, on a nicely wrapped package. It's just that extra touch that means you took the trouble of making this gifting experience unique. But, you know, much like for the first one, you can add a clip or a pin or an elastic and use it on your hair, or do whatever you want with it. You can sew it or glue it onto your pet collar. You know, the things you can do with a bow like this are truly endless, okay? And they will look really, really cute. Okay, guys, third version, and I'm upping our game a little bit, and I'm making a fancier bow, if you will. Like I said, bows for all tastes and sizes, right? But don't worry, it will still be pretty simple and easy to make. It will just look complicated. Okay, let's go ahead and get a 20.5 by 5.5 inch rectangle and the smaller 2 by 4 inch rectangle. So for this big one, we are going to fold it in half, right sides together. Okay, and then we will just fold it in half again, just like that. Now that we have both sides together, we are just going to take our 45-degree line and we are going to mark a corner, just like that. And we will be doing the exact same thing on the other side, making sure it's the right side, okay? This is what we want. We don't want to do it like this, okay? We want the exact same size that we did for the one on the other side. See, if we did it like this, that's not what we want. We want to be able to mark the exact same place. And that would be here. And before we're done, we are going to make a 1/4 inch marking on our line, just like that. Now we can pretty much unfold it, and we will do the same thing here, 1/4 inch line on our marking. Okay, so let's find the middle, and this is our middle. Okay, so let's mark the middle, just a tiny little mark right there. So we've got our corners marked with a 1/4 inch marking, that's for our seam, and we've got the center of our strip marked as well. So now that we have found our middle line, we are going to make another marking with 3/4 inch on each side of the center point. So 3/4 inch is this. So 0.75 inches. So the same thing here. So now we've got 3 markings. The center marking, 3/4 inch on one side, 3/4 inch on the other side, right? So now what we do is we draw a 1/4 inch line from the outside markings, okay, not the center, the outside markings towards the marking we did in our corner, okay? So 1/4 inch from here all the way up to there, and the exact same thing here, 1/4 inch, and draw the line. But don't forget, we leave this center completely untouched, okay, completely free. And this is us being lazy, because what we're going to do is we are going to sew along both these lines. If you want, you can pin the strip in place to make sure it doesn't move as you sew, just to make sure it all goes to plan. Okay guys, let's do this. Okay guys, we are back, and as you can see, we've sewn the corner, the line, stopped in the middle, sewn another line, and netted up in the corner, okay? So this strip is nice and sewn. So now what we need to do is trim off our excess in the corners before you want it to be close, okay? Because you don't want it to be too much leftover fabric, because the next thing we are going to do is to turn this inside out. So we can't really afford to have a lot of space. Scraps. Okay, so how do we turn this inside out? We get the middle and we just search for this corner and I start to bring it in. And you'll probably need a tool of some kind to make sure you reach these really tight corners, okay? Like one of those kebab sticks or something like that, or maybe a proper tool, or a pencil, or a pen, or a brush. I usually use the back of my brushes, of my watercolor brushes. I'll show you in a bit what I use, because I will be needing some assistance to get to those corners. Okay, so let me get my brush. Let me just go down there to push the corners out, all of the corners. This one too, don't forget about this one. And then we go on the other side and we do the exact same thing, pushing all the corners out. And this is what we get. Okay guys, now we just press the whole thing to keep it in place and we're ready to make our bow. So let's just fold it over, just like that. We need to make sure that these are aligned. We need to know if we want, you know, bigger bow or a bigger end of the bow, you decide. Okay, so let me just get this here. And you want to pick all the sides, all the three fabrics, okay? So the two sides in the middle, and then we just do really big stitches, okay? There's no point in making them small. Really big. Let me just pull on my needle, pull it real tightly as you can, okay? And then we just go around with our thread like 2 or 3 times. And now we cut our thread and see what we've got. Okay, you always need to pull at it, you know, to fill it, move it around a little bit, make it look like the way you want it to look. Okay, it's not going to be perfect. Don't expect it to be perfect the minute you're done, okay? You need to pull at it, move it around a little bit, see how you like it, and make it perfect. Here's our bow. We need to get the smaller rectangle and do what we have done for all our middle sections so far. And then we put it onto our bow. Still hot. Just like so. And again, you can glue it, you can machine sew it, or you can sew it by hand. So we cut off the excess. Okay, so this one I'll be sewing by hand, because that way you get to see all the options and decide for yourself which one you prefer for one of your bows. And if you're adding like an elastic or hair clip, now's the time to add it. I'm going with the simple pin for this one, so I can add it later on. So let's go. I would usually do it with a red thread, but since I want you to see what I'm doing, I'm using white. So, you know, really simple stitches. You can make them more hidden, but if you use red thread, you really won't have to, because this is the back. So don't worry if you're not much of a hand sewer. You don't really need to be. And you also don't need a lot of stitches, okay? This isn't going anywhere. Okay, so this is my bow, and I'm just going to add a real simple, actually it's on the other one, yeah. I'm just going to add a simple clip to it, and it is ready to be used. Let me just, again, adjust it as much as you want it to make sure it's exactly as you want it, okay? Give it some space, some dimension, some height. And here we have it. Another bow. This is a fancy bow. I love it. Okay guys, this is the last bow of the day, and we are going out with a bang, if I may say so myself. So we will need 3 pieces of fabric to start, okay? 6 by 13 inches. And I have told you before, this is one of my favorite fabrics. It's Anna Maria Horner, I think. So this one is 6 by 15 inches. This one is 6 by 13 inches. And this is a tiny 3 by 4 inch piece. So again, what we're going to do is the same thing we have done many times today. Fold them in half. All 3 of them, okay? So this one, and this one, and this one too. And what we'll be doing is we will be sewing along the edge. And now we just turn them inside out. So now we're going to press this with the seam in the middle, okay? Okay, second stage of this bow, we get a big rectangle. This is like 34 by 7.5 inches, okay? We are going to fold this in half, right sides together, okay? Just like so. And we are going to mark the corner like we've done before, like 6 inches out. So just 6 inches, and we draw a line, and these will be the tips of our bow, much like we did for the last one. And remember, okay, both lined up. So now we cut. And now what we do is we're just going to sew a simple seam all the way around this rectangle, okay? All the way around. You can pin it if you want, you know, before sewing, or just go as you sew like I'll be doing. So we just make a small fold, and then we fold it again. So we want our needle down for this, and then we just start. Okay guys, so this is what we've got, and now we just need to find our center, and this is it. So mark it just like that, and then we get our needle and our thread, and we just go ahead and make a couple of stitches. Big stitches, small stitches, doesn't really matter, as long as it goes from one end to the other, okay? Because you know what comes next. Next, we pull on it, and now we just roll our thread around it, and now we just add a knot. Okay, so this is the tip of our bow. Look at that. Okay, so let's put this aside. Let's get back to our smaller rectangles, and we're just going to turn each of these into a bow. Okay, so now that we have both these bows, a smaller one and a bigger one, just put the smaller bow on top of the bigger bow, and I have chosen to do white, dark, dark white, okay, as you can see. And now we just add a couple of stitches through both bows to make sure they stick in place, okay? Because our final step will be to add the strip that goes in the middle of the both of them, right? So this is it. We're just going to fold this in half like we've done so many times today, and we're gonna put it around both bows. It's not looking anything much right now, but it will look better once we are done with it. This is the time where we're adding our little ends, just like so. And it's also the time when we'll be adding an elastic or a clip or whatever we want. And I'm adding this elastic right here. Also, I am sewing it by hand. And you can, actually fold this in if you want to make it cleaner. And I think a fancy bow like this deserves all the little details, all the trimmings. Now, when we're sewing, we will want to be able to get all the fabrics, okay? Well, as long as it doesn't get to the other side and we show the stitch. So we will want to catch the fabric, the elastic, and the tips. And this is what we get. So make sure our ends are nice in place. We're just going to puff up our bows, the back bow, the front bow as well on one side and on the other side. And this is what we get. How gorgeous is this, guys? Really, how absolutely perfect is this? And there we have it, guys. 4 very simple but very stunning bows that you can make in no time and have a blast doing it. Because life is just nicer if you add some bows to it. I hope you agree. And I hope you had fun. I know I had a blast, and I will see you really, really soon. Bye bye.